Hello everyone, in today's video we are diving into data definition language or DDL. Think of DDL as the architecture phase of data. We aren't just playing with data today, we're building the house it lives in. We'd learn how to create a table, how to alter a table, and how to carefully drop a table. Now, if you're in a hurry, a quick way to create a table in PostgreSQL is by right-clicking on Tables, click on Create Table, and let's give this table a name. Let's call it Books, and click on Save. Boom, you've created a table. Let's say we want to do this like a pro using the query tool. We make use of the create statement. Imagine you're working for a clinic and they need a way to track their growing list of patients. Once we create this table, it will be empty like a brand new filing cabinet. We would learn how to fill those drawers later when we get to data manipulation language or DML. But before we write a single line of code, we need to make use of comments. This allows another user to understand your work and also keep your work from looking messy. For a single line comment, we use the double hyphen. For a multiple line comment, we wrap the text in a / and asterisk. For example, write the double hyphen and say this is a single line comment. Why for the multiple line, you open your / and an asterisk. You can write this enter is a multiple line comments, then put your asterisk and your /. Now let's start writing. The syntax here is create table. We give it a name, then we list the column along with their data types and also their constraints. Think of constraints as the security guards of your table. They limit the type of data that can enter, ensuring everything stays accurate and reliable. For example, not null tells SQL that a particular column cannot be left blank. We also use this to define the primary and the foreign keys, which would help us tell patients apart, because the last thing you want in a clinic is getting two patients with the same name mixed up. Now let's build that table for our new patients. We need ID, name, telephone, age, amount, payment method, sex, date, zip code, and insurance. In our query tool, let's write the following code. Let's create a table for new patients. So we're going to start by saying create table, and let's call this new patients. And open the bracket. Here we're going to specify our column. Let's call this, the first column is going to be ID, the data type is an integer, and we're going to add a constraint, not null. What we're telling SQL is this column can't be empty. Next is name of the patient, and we give this a varchar, and the maximum strings, let's say 35. The next is going to be the age. Let's do the age and amount. Amount, which is an integer. We have sex, date. The data type here is also date. Telephone, payment method, zip code, and insurance. But before we run this code, we need to add the primary key. So we're going to say a constraint, and let's call this primary key, short for PK underscore new patient, and call your primary key. And our primary key here is going to be the ID. This is going to help us differentiate one row from the other, and we run this code, and you've successfully created your table. But you need to come over here and click on refresh, and there you have it. You have our new patients table. So we need to track the actual visit. Let's create a table called patient logs. So we're going to say create table and call this patient logs. Open a bracket in your tab. We're going to call our first column the results ID, and this is an integer and also not null. The next is going to be if they've seen the doctor. We're going to type seen doctor. This is going to be like a yes or no. I'm going to call this a voucher. Let's give this 5. The next is want to see their next appointment date. I'm going to call this date. Also, we want to check if they've done any blood work. And call this the voucher. Next is the payment status, pending test. I'm going to also add a constraint. We want to save the primary key and you run this. Your query has successfully run. You're going to refresh and we have our new patients table and our patient logs. One thing to also note is the ordering of the columns matters. Whatever you put as the first column is going to be the first column. For example, result ID is the first column, seen doctor is the next, followed by next appointment date, then blood work. So if you wanted to see your payment status first, you would have to, before seen doctor, you would have to swap their locations. So this determines the order of your columns. And finally, just so we have something to practice with later when we want to drop the table, let's create a department table. So head over to your query tool. We're going to say create department table. Create table. Let's call this department and department ID. So we have the department ID and the data type. It's also not null. Department name, number of staffs, number of beds, and the primary key, which is also the department ID. And we run this and our query has run successfully. Refresh the table and we have department created. In the real world, requirements change. When you've already created a table and you need to add a new column or change a definition, we make use of the alter statement. To add a column, we use alter table, table name, add column name, and data type. While to remove a table, we use the alter table, the table name, drop column, and the column name. Now let's update one of our tables. Let's add a new column, appointment status, to our table patient logs. So we'll say alter table and call the table name. We're going to say patient logs. And we want to add appointment status. And let's give this a data type. This is voucher 20. And also we can say we want this as a not null. We don't want this column to be empty because we want to keep track of the patient's appointment. And we run this. You successfully added a new column to your existing table. Let's also add a new column to new patients table. We're going to be adding BMI. So we'd say alter table, new patients, and we're adding BMI. The data type here, it's a decimal. and we run this. Query has successfully run, so we've added a new column to our existing table, new patient. Now let's move to deleting an entire table. I'll be honest, I usually don't recommend doing this. It is like a nuclear option. But before you drop a table, be absolutely sure you don't need that table, because once you hit execute, that table is gone forever. There is no undo button or there is no way to recycle it. And to do this, we make use of the drop statement. Now let's go to our query tool and delete the department table. The syntax for this is drop table, and you had the table name and you select run. So here we type drop table and you give the table name, department. Like I said, be sure you no longer need this table before you run it. Then you select run. Your query has been successful. You can still see it on the tables here in your schema. What you need to do is refresh and you notice the department table is gone. You've officially learned how to create, alter, and drop tables. In our next video, we're going to get even more hands-on. We'll learn how to insert, update, and delete actual values using data manipulation language or DML. If you found this helpful, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to follow the entire series. See you in the next video.